Hey guys, welcome to this week's podcast episode. And I've got Jennifer Harshman, the book baker, on our show today. And she's going to talk to us about her career, her impact. She really focuses on literacy and helping homeschooled and special needs children. You're going to hear about all how she's created a career of influence and impact through the power of words, the written word, books, etc. And I'm really happy to welcome Jennifer to the show. And welcome, Jennifer.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here with you.
Yeah. I know briefly, share how you got started, and we'll dive right into the conversation.
Okay. Well, I started reading when I was about 3 years old, and I've loved books ever since. And I homeschooled my three children while I was doing some in home daycare and looking for something that I could do to really impact more people. So, one on one or in small groups, that's okay. But if you can do something that you can leverage where you can help one to many, then that can be more effective and fulfilling. So I started helping people write and publish their books.
Yeah. Yeah, I really and talk about this thing from one to many, because I've actually encountered this in my career too. First as a doctor, I'm like, yeah, I can only, seeing patients and doing surgeries. Yeah, this is great, but it's like one to one, and it's and I don't want to say it's a waste of time, but you can leverage your time more effectively. So it became like speaking in front of groups and then writing books. So talk about this idea of one to many.
Okay. So if you help someone, say in coaching, because a lot of my clients are coaches or subject matter experts, public speakers, and if you help someone in a one-to-one situation, that's great. And it impacts their life. And then they can go and help other people.
Uh-huh.
And if you can take that same amount of time and effort and put it into something like writing a book or a blog post or even hosting a podcast or going on a podcast interview, then that can help many people with the same amount of time and effort that you would have put into helping one.
Yeah. And yeah, and I love that. It's kind of like it reminds me of like software, or just like there's a book that really changed the way I think. It's called The Platform Economy, and where it's like you have like brands like Airbnb and Uber, and then they've created these companies, just literally what you're talking about, this one to many concept. And yeah. So, kind of moving on to kind of, I love discussing themes. And so one theme is resilience and overcoming hardships. Most of the audience can resonate with that. A lot of the guests have the same thing. And how have, you can share your personal story. You don't have to go into much detail, but shape your approach to life and work. What specific mindset shifts and do you think were most crucial to your recovery and success?
Well, I went through a lot of abuse over the course of my life, from the time I was in the womb onward. And I had books available to me and teachers who were also, those little guiding lights. And I just knew that there was a better life out there. There was a way that I could accomplish the things that I wanted to do because I saw examples in those books. So that's what I just held on to that hope. And I've tried things. I've tried a lot of things that didn't work, and I'm still here. It's okay. So that's what I encourage people to do, is hang on to hope and realize that success leaves clues. Other people have done it, which means you can do it too.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I think yeah, it sounds like you quoted Tony Robbins, and we'll probably talk about the influence. He's had an influence on a lot of individuals. Yeah, and in just this power of words, because similar to me, because I'm a minority, and growing up in a all white community, and just kind of books were my solace, because I could just open it, and like these powerful ideas really could change your course. And you could resonate with the characters, and just really open and expand your mind. So then, so what specific what specific mind shifts do you think are most crucial for people going through hell right now, and just like is it one particular was like this live in day type compartments, and what specific mindset shifts can you recommend or that helped you?
I think what helped me the most is just realizing that it's possible. And I have lived through so many things already, like your bad day success rate is 100% because you're still here. So even if this day is rough, there's tomorrow.
Yeah. What about like an uncertainty? Because like sometimes people let like uncertainty, and that causes like fear, worry, and doubt. How do you handle that?
Um, Sometimes I jump off the cliff and I build my plane on the way down.
Uh-huh.
Other times, if it feels too risky, then I will do a little bit of research and talk to some people who have done it before. I might read a book or two on the topic and then kind of ease into it. What small step could I take today toward this thing that I want to do?
Uh-huh. I love that. It kind of ease into it. I love that. And just kind of yeah, it really helps. Like I just like just kind of this idea of be the just make it through today, and like everybody else is probably, and then if you can make it, then just you can still be alive. You can still show up to play. Then you've already won. So next question I have for you is so you have an interesting you call yourself the book baker,
Mhm.
and what is that what is the inspiration behind that, and what do you do to help your clients? Because I know because you do editing, so talk about the business that you do for your clients.
Okay, so I started Harshman Services many, many years ago. And over the course of time, people kept asking me to coach them through the writing process, not just edit their book when it was done, but help them get it written in the first place. So I started doing that. And I used the metaphor that, you know, processes are repeatable. Writing a book is a process. And again, if someone else has done it, you can do it too. You just figure out how they did it and then you do what they did.
Uh-huh.
So I likened it to following a recipe. We have so many mental hurdles or mental blocks that we put up for ourselves when it comes to writing a book. A
Uh-huh.
lot of people, excuse me, a lot of people think that you have to take a lot of time off from your job and it'll take a really long time and it's really complicated. And so they don't take that first step. They don't write their book. And I got frustrated with that because so many people have a story inside them. They have knowledge that they could share one too many,
Uh-huh.
and they're just not doing it. And so I said, it doesn't have to be hard. It doesn't have to be complicated, and it doesn't have to take forever.
Mhm.
So I said, if you can follow a recipe to bake a cake, then you can write a helpful nonfiction book. And in that group coaching program that I was leading, where I was saying that to my students, one of them piped up, well, you're the book baker. You're teaching us how to bake books. And I loved it. So gradually the costume came about one piece at a time, and the book baker persona started to get well known.
Yeah. Yeah. And so talk about some of the success that you've had with your clients, like how like kind of you've edited sounds like over a couple hundred, and what are some of the success stories from your clients?
Okay. One is Dan Miller, recently reposed. He wrote the book 48 Days to the Work You Love. And I edited his 2020 edition of that. That one book led to his entire business. He developed multiple streams of income from that book alone.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, and so next question I have is, having started as a freelance editor and built a successful agency, what are some of the most important lessons you've learned, and offer practical advice for listeners who are considering making a similar transition?
Okay. So, some of the things that I learned are, one is give it a shot.
Uh-huh.
You might not feel ready, but you can ease into things, or you can try something, and you never know where it's going to go or how successful you might become with it.
Uh-huh.
Another thing that I've learned is to trust my gut. So when I'm interacting with a prospective client, if I have a feeling that they're not going to be a good client to work with,
Uh-huh.
for whatever reason, maybe it's, maybe they're fine, maybe their book is fine, it's just not a good fit between the two of us.
Uh-huh.
The times in the past that I brushed that aside and I logicked my way through, well, there's no reason that it shouldn't be just fine. I always regretted it, and it always turned out to be more of a headache than it was worth.
Uh-huh.
So that's one thing that I would encourage people to do is, yes, make sure things look good on paper, but if your gut is saying something different,
Yeah.
listen to it.
Yeah. Oh, I really that's really key, and just like learning to say no, and trusting your gut. That goes same thing with podcasts too. It's like sometimes you kind of know that guest isn't gonna really, and then like, but so I love this idea of trusting your gut. And then the other question I have is so you've had a literacy and impact, and you've edited over 200 books, um, and you also managed to homeschool your children, despite facing other challenges. So what are your biggest challenges and triumphs in this journey, and share some strategies or resources that might help other parents in similar situations?
One of my big triumphs is helping my kids deal with their disabilities. So my oldest two attended school for a while, and we had IEPs, and we went to all the meetings, and we had struggle after struggle. And I finally pulled them out and homeschooled. And then with my youngest, I homeschooled him his whole life. One of the things when we were getting some evaluations done with my eldest, they said, you have done so much work with him. So much healing has taken place in him that we're not comfortable leaving the diagnosis of autism on his records. So yes, he still has some issues and things like that. Some of that will never go away, but he has come so far. And people who knew him when he was age 9 would not agree with the people who met him as an adult, and vice versa, because he's such a different person.
Oh, yeah, interesting. I really love this conversation. How can people, you've innovated the use of SEO in creating book outlines, which is quite unique, and explain how this process works and how it benefits the final product. What tips can you give our listeners who want to optimize their content for better reach and engagement?
Okay. So way back in the day, I did some website development, and that's where I learned about SEO. And I was helping clients to set up their websites. And then later I got into book editing, and I was thinking about searchability and things like that, where when someone's looking for a book, how can they most effectively find it? And they're entering keywords into Amazon. So my brain just kind of combined those two worlds. And I thought, why not use one set of skills to work on something in another industry, so to speak? And it worked really well. So that's something that people can do, is use keyword research to help you write the outline for your book. You already know a lot. You've got that knowledge in your brain from all of your years of research, all of your years of experience. And you also might have some knowledge gaps. Or when you're writing your outline, when you're brainstorming, you might not think of everything that needs to go into your book. But those tools can help you spot those blind spots. And then you get to make the decision. Does that belong in this book? Or maybe it's another book.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. How can people find you and follow you and reach out to you and check out your work?
They can find me at Jennifer at yourbookbakery.com, or the same name at harshmanservices.com. I have both of those sites. And most of my stuff is on harshmanservices.com at this point.
Yeah. And yeah, for all the audience, let's thank Jennifer for coming on and, check out her work and see if it fits, and give her socials a like and follow. And thanks so much for coming on.
Thank you so much for having me.